Hello, my friends. It is Tuesday, January 6, 2026, and I'm your host, Radical Russ Belville, your Red State refugee. And welcome to the Radical Russ Show, your weekday morning wake and bake, coming to you from Roland J Studios in Southern Oregon. On today's smoke session, let's talk about what happened 5 years ago today. Let's talk about how the administration seeks to deport 100 million Americans and how the welfare scandal in Minnesota has taken out Governor Tim Walz. But before we get to all the serious political stuff, we've got time for 3 quick hits. Well, yesterday was the debut of the new anchor for the CBS Evening News, the storied flagship program from CBS that has been on the air since World War II and the announcement of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Anchors are legendary in the journalism business, starting with Douglas Edwards in 1948, Walter Cronkite, of course, the legend in 1962, Dan Rather in 1981. Connie Chung was a co-anchor for a while. Bob Schieffer was an anchor in 2005. Katie Couric took over in 2006. Scott Pelley in 2011. Jeff Glor in 2017. Nora O'Donnell in 2019. And just as of last year, 2025, the desk was anchored by John Dickerson and Maurice Dubois. They have left in the wake of the hiring of Barry Weiss, the former New York Times opinion journalist and the head of the Free Press, the right-wing rag, brought in by the Paramount owners, the Ellisons, to curry favor with the Trump regime, vowing that CBS News would become fair and balanced, like Fox is, and provide better coverage of Donald Trump. And to do so, they bring in this new anchor who I first became aware of in 2014 when he was working for NBC News. He did a piece on Patrick Kennedy, the second worst Kennedy out there. Patrick Kennedy at the time was forming Project SAM, the Smart Approaches to Marijuana, and working with my nemesis, the Joker to my Batman, Kevin Sabet. Anyway, I first came upon Tony back then, and now, I guess 12 years later, he is named the anchor of the CBS Evening News. So let's check in on Tony Ducapel and see how well the broadcast is going.
All right, to other news, as you just heard from Jill. Well, to other news now, to Governor Walz. No, we're going to do Mark Kelly. First day, big problems here. Are we going to Kelly here, or are we going to go to Jonah Kaplan? We're doing Mark Kelly, possibly demoted from his retired rank of captain in the Navy.
Yikes. Makes you want to bring back Connie Chung, doesn't it? Well, Lady Love and I had quite the adventure yesterday. As you know, we are still working on the Justice for Lila Lynn campaign. Lila Lynn being my stillborn great-granddaughter who was killed in a car crash because of medical negligence at the Banner Lassen Hospital she was first taken to in Susanville, California. We have secured the services of a personal injury law firm, and that involved us having to go to the hospitals and get all the medical records. Some of them were printed out, but a couple of the records, both from the Banner Hospital in Susanville and the Renown Hospital in Reno, came to us on DVDs, DVD discs. And that presented a problem because it's 2026 and I don't have an optical disc reader. I've got this laptop I purchased last year and it doesn't have any CD or DVD drive on it. So we had the immediate, urgent need of getting a DVD drive. And I thought, oh, that's no problem. We'll just run down to Walmart and get a DVD drive. But then I thought, we're trying now to avoid always shopping at the big box stores, try to shop local. So we looked around in Grants Pass for any sort of local computer stores that might be able to help us, Staples, Fred Meyer. We called ahead to these stores. And I know big box, and here I say Staples and Fred Meyer, but, there were no little local shops in Grants Pass. It's a small town. And that's 20 miles away from where we live. And we called around and we couldn't find one. So finally, in desperation, we reach out to the Best Buy, and that's all the way in Medford, which is 50 miles away. And so we got the Best Buy, and like, okay, let's order this on Best Buy. We ordered it online for pickup, and, it says it'll be probably an hour or two before we can pick it up, and it takes about an hour to drive there. So we get in the car, we drive all the way out to Medford, and when we get to the Best Buy, there's this Best Buy employee who's at the door, and as we're approaching the door, he's waving people off and explaining that they've had a power outage at the Best Buy and the store is closed. And I tell the guy, hey, I ordered this thing online, and it says it's still processing. Can't we just pick this thing up? I've already paid for it. It's already purchased. Here's the receipt I can show you on my phone. No, we can't, because we can't process it. We don't have the computers up. We can't show that you've actually purchased it, but oh my God. So we drove all that way, a whole hour for nothing. So once again, get back on the phone, start calling around. And I find 3 local computer stores that local mom and pop, not associated with any big box or major retailer. Okay, so I call all 3 of them. Not a one of them has a USB plug-in DVD type drive available. Not a one of these stores have it available. So finally, in desperation, we look up Walmart. Sure enough, they have exactly what we're looking for. So we drive to the South Medford Walmart, another 5 miles farther, and we pick up this DVD drive, and we finally got it after all that work, after all that driving. Turns out they had one at the Walmart in Grants Pass, too. We could have just done the very first thing I thought of, which was go to the Walmart in Grants Pass, pick one up, and no, we had to waste all that gas. But Lady Love took me out to lunch, a wonderful Chinese restaurant called the Silver Dragon on Crater Lake Avenue there in Medford. 5 stars. They passed my number 1 Chinese food test, and that is the hot and sour soup. Number 1, is it hot? Number 2, is it sour? You'd think it'd be an easy test to pass, but there's so many Chinese restaurants that do not pass that test. Anyway, we got the DVD drive, got back home, copied all of the information off of disk and onto the cloud for the attorneys to go over. So we should have some movement in this case fairly soon. We will keep you apprised. The other thing I found funny, of course, we have the last day of the NFL regular season took place on Sunday, and a fella out there on Blue Sky named Philip Michaels made this observation. With the Baltimore Ravens loss, I believe that all NFL players appearing alongside Jake from State Farm have been eliminated from playoff contention. All right, let's go to the tape. Who has been alongside Jake from State Farm this year? They've had this series of commercials where it's like, it's not this guy, it's the other guy. Here's the first one. Detroit defensive end Aiden Hutchinson.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the leadership of this captain, but getting that captain.
I spy motion on the port side!
And sure enough, the Detroit Lions are not in the NFL playoffs. Next up, running back for the Baltimore Ravens, Derek King Henry.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the strength of this King Henry, but getting that King Henry.
Huzzah! Salutations!
Now, that's right. Baltimore lost the last game of the year. All they needed to do was win that game against the Steelers. They'd have been in the playoffs, but the Jake from State Farm curse caught them, and they are out. Who else do we have on the list? Oh, yes. Trey Smith, the offensive guard, and Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback, from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like needing the protection of this guard. Forgetting that guard.
Where do we even get this guy?
Well, there you go. It's the Jake from State Farm curse. And the exception that proves the rule is the fact that Aaron Rodgers from the Steelers is in the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers was booted from the State Farm commercials a couple of years ago. Maybe there's something to this Jake from State Farm curse. He's a bigger jinx than Ted Cruz and the cover of the Madden EA Sports games, I guess.
Our top story tonight.
Our top story tonight.
Bellissimo Francisco Franco is still dead.
It was 5 years ago this morning that our country was attacked by the MAGA movement and by its leader, Donald John Trump. You remember that day? I remember watching the entire day unfold. I didn't have to work that day. I was staying home. And I knew that something was up. It was shocking to me. The shocking thing about January 6th to me is that it was shocking to anyone. That we weren't all fully aware of what was going to transpire that day. We had seen Donald Trump complaining about the results of the 2020 election. Even before the election had taken place, he had sowed the seeds of calling it fake, calling the elections rigged, because he knew he was going to lose. He knew after his disastrous handling of COVID and the cratering of the economy, he knew that his days were numbered, and he knew that as soon as he was out of office, that little memo from the 1970s that says you can't indict a sitting president, which, by the way, Ken Starr even says shouldn't exist. But he knew that memo protected him while he was in office, but he knew the minute he was out of office, there would be indictments, there would be prosecutions, there would be consequences for his lifetime of criminality. And so those of us that were paying attention could see the run up to January 6th. We could see all of his attacks on the election itself, calling Raffensperger in Georgia, saying he just needed 11,787 votes, one more than we need, trying to steal the election, trying to strong-arm Republican state officials into violating the will of the people and subverting our democracy. He was already up to it. He was already engaged in the coup. In November of 2020, in December of 2020, we could see it all ramping up. His tweet, "Come to the Capitol, will be wild." Then on that day, we could see all these MAGA gathering for his speeches and the various people getting on stage saying we have to fight for our democracy. We have to stop the steal. The guy called his rally the Stop the Steal rally. What did people think was going to happen? They were all just going to get together and bitch and moan about it and then go home? His promise to march down with them, which of course he didn't do. Loyalty with Trump only works one way, one direction. And besides, you think that guy could actually walk the entire distance from the National Mall to the Capitol? It's quite a distance. I've walked it. When you're standing there on the Capitol looking out toward the Washington Monument, it doesn't look very far. That's only because the Washington Monument's very tall. It's like 2 miles. It's a long-ass walk. Trump ain't going to make that walk. So we watched as brave Capitol police officers tried to hold the line. We watched as the MAGA all approached on January 6th, overran the police lines, began beating them with American flags, parading Confederate flags in our Capitol. National Guard not to be called out. Republicans hiding for their lives calling him on the phone. Please, you've got to do something. Call people off. They knew who was behind it. They knew who led this. The Republicans that were calling Trump and telling him to stop, have them all stop, knew exactly who was in control of that crowd. And Trump did nothing. That's the thing about January 6th to me. There's some plausible deniability, I suppose. Not much. And definitely for someone who should not be given the benefit of the doubt to get it. But you can say, okay, maybe he had the rally and had no idea how violent it would get, that it would get out of hand. Maybe it wasn't actually coordinated by Ginny Thomas and these right-wing groups that were funding the damn thing. Charlie Kirk and his Turning Point USA busing people there. Purposely putting together a mob. This was all pre-planned. This was all coordinated. But even if you could get past all that, even if you could assume that it was just a spontaneous riot that broke out, with absolutely no direction from anyone, even if you can suspend disbelief to get yourself there, you cannot excuse the 3 hours he let it go on. The hours it was going on, and people were calling to him, begging him to deploy the National Guard, which now apparently we've learned that the National Guard can be deployed to Washington, D.C. on the president's order at any time. Turns out we could have put the National Guard anywhere we wanted to, at any time we wanted to, but not then, not on January 6th, not when Officer Brian Sicknick is getting crushed in those doors, not when Officer Fanone is getting pulled into the crowd, beaten with his own baton, tased, other people getting pepper sprayed. Back the blew my ass, MAGA. He could have stopped it. He was the one who could have stopped it, and for 3 hours he did not. That is aid and comfort to the enemy. That is black and white treason right there. The oath to take care that the laws are faithfully executed to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And there they were, thousands of domestic enemies of our Constitution attacking our capital, preventing the peaceful transfer of power, subverting the very meaning of what it means to be an American. And he watched it happen. He gleefully watched it happen, sat in front of his TV. Probably got a chubby watching it. The only kind of love he can feel is those who fear him, those who are intimidated by him. That kind of day for a narcissist like him, thousands of people willing to kill and die for him. If he had any purchase on reality, any grasp on sanity, and on that day, it was all wiped away. On that day, in his mind, he became the undying God Emperor of the United States of Trump. That was the first day of the coup. And the coup is still ongoing, thanks to the failure, fear, and fecklessness of the Democrats who should have put it to bed. The fear, failure, and fecklessness of Merrick Garland, not wanting to appear political, wanting to appear above the fray, going after all the low-level rioters, as if I gave a good goddamn whether Clem and Bubba from South Pigs Knuckle, Arkansas, who flew all the way to D.C. to beat some cops with a Confederate flag, whether I really cared whether they went to prison or not. Yes, I think they should. Yes, they should never have been pardoned. But I was willing to let every single MAGA go. Every single one of them. Give them a slap on the wrist. Give them a fine if necessary. I was willing to trade all of that to put Donald Trump away, to put Rudy Giuliani away, to put Jeannie Thomas away, Jim Jordan, any of these co-conspirators and enablers of the MAGA coup. But no, Merrick Garland wanted to do it by the book. We can't appear to be partisan. We can't appear to be political. Well, when the crimes are committed by politicians and completely supported by one political party, when that is their operation of politics, is to break the law and subvert our very constitutional founding, then yes, the prosecutions are necessarily going to be political. There is no both sides to this. There is one side that believes in democracy, that believes in upholding our Constitution, that believes in that part of the Pledge of Allegiance that says, with liberty and justice for all of us. And there's another side that wants a king. There's another side that wants to have royalty. Another side that wants to go back to feudalism and lords. Another side that wants to be ruled by clerics. As anti-American as I can think, there's nothing more anti-American in American history than the Republican Party right now. The most anti-American organization to exist in our nation. They don't believe in our Constitution. They don't believe in our laws. They don't believe in our rules. They don't even believe that many of us are citizens, for that matter. I will always remember that January 6th. I was crying that day watching what was happening. I served this country for 6 years, and I don't make a big deal about being a veteran because I was in a National Guard Army band. I had to go every Monday night and rehearse swing music on a stand-up bass. And then every 3 months or so go shoot a gun or put on a gas mask or run 2 miles or shine some boots. But mostly it was playing music. So I don't make a big deal out of being a veteran. So many others have sacrificed so much more than I have. But I did take it seriously. I did feel pride in that uniform. I did get goosebumps whenever I'd hear the national anthem or taps and look up and see the Star-Spangled Banner waving. I want that feeling back. I want to be proud of our country again. But I haven't been. I haven't been since the moment Trump came down that escalator, the moment it seemed when he became the Republican nominee, when it became possible that the United States would elect as its leader one of the worst human beings it has ever produced. Seriously, I seriously believe Donald Trump is one of the worst things ever produced by the United States of America. An out-and-out avowed racist, misogynist, lecher, fraud, criminal, con man, and now traitor. Traitor to the United States of America, cozying up to all of our dictatorial enemies, Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin, President Xi. We are now the baddies. We are part of the axis of autocracy. We are now part of an axis that is fighting democracy globally, trying to establish techno-feudalism, reducing us all to serfs with no say in how our world, our government, our politics are run. That was the effect of January 6th. That was the ongoing coup that we're still living under. This war to subvert our Constitution, this cold civil war is what we're living under right now. And another person, of course, that we can't forget to hold to account for this is Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, who on January 6th, the day after, even Republicans were still shocked. They were still so stunned they couldn't yet fall into line behind whoever the bully was at the moment. There was still some shred of respect for our constitutional order and our democracy. There were still some Republicans capable of feeling shame on January 7th. There was still a moment when the impeachment sails through the United States House and all Mitch McConnell had to do was whip up a few more Republican votes against it. A few more Republican votes against Trump and for his conviction and removal. And this nightmare would be over. Donald Trump would never have been able to run again. He would have been, let's hope, prosecuted Although, again, we're talking Merrick Garland, so we don't know what would have happened in that case. And Mitch McConnell chose party over country. Mitch McConnell was too afraid of the legacy, the long-lasting political harm of having ousted Donald Trump and how his MAGA minions would respond to that. Power was more important to Mitch McConnell than the United States Constitution. And the other thing that angers me about January 6th is my brother's birthday. My brother turns 55 today. He turned 50. His 50th birthday was January 6th, 2021. How sad for my brother that the rest of his life, his birthday, is also the anniversary of the beginning of the end of the United States. If we don't seriously turn these things around in the next couple of elections.
They don't vote Democrat, they don't drive Cadillacs, and they never use personal vehicles.
As part of this ongoing coup against the constitutional order of the United States of America, we have this continued propaganda campaign coming from our Department of Fatherland Security. I don't know if you've been following their account, the DHS Gov account on X, or formerly known as Twitter. But there hasn't been anything as explicitly white Christian nationalist come from our government than what's coming out of this account. I mean, truly, Goebbels could be running this account. This is such blatant Nazi propaganda. It is offensive every time I see it. They do cutesy little things like the past ones have been kind of cutesy, right? Like they post things that have exactly 14 words in them. You know, with the 14 words is a Nazi wink and a nod. They have this little saying about securing the future for themselves and their white women. So it's a Nazi code, right? And then they put out these posters. They got all the posters that look like, you know, straight out of the Nazi Germany propaganda, where the square-jawed white man with the blonde hair and the blue eyes, you know, come support, save our culture, promote our culture, promote our heritage, all this stuff about culture and heritage, and always the white and delightsome man or couple, little family, always white picket fence, always got that Norman Rockwell look to it. So, with that in mind, with that background, the latest post from these guys really needs to start getting some more attention. Because what we've heard from these guys, going back to their RNC in 2024, the whole mass deportations now. The border is overrun. We've got open borders. There's so many immigrants coming in over the borders, undocumented. They openly promote what's called the Great Replacement Theory, which is this idea, and Elon Musk has been promoting this a whole lot. The Great Replacement Theory is this idea that Democrats can't win elections with just white people. So Democrats have to purposely let all the brown and black people they can into the country so that they'll vote Democrat so that they can continue to have power. Which does beg the question, why is it, do you think, that new immigrants into the United States of America who aren't white wouldn't want to vote Republican? Why wouldn't they support lower taxes and strong borders and a powerful military? Because the Republican Party is a white Nazi party. That's why they're just openly admitting it right there. Anytime they say the Great Replacement Theory, they're openly admitting that they are a white people's party and they want this to be a white people's country. They're not even hiding it anymore. The latest tweet that came out from these guys had this picture of an idyllic beach, palm tree, big wave in the background, a nice gas-guzzling land yacht of a car, some, 50s, 60s big-ass car, maybe 70s, I don't know. Anyway, this idyllic beach scene And then the caption on it says, imagine this is, or something like, this is what America would be like with 100 million deportations, 100 million people deported. 100 million people deported? There's a little less than 340 million people in this country, so deporting 2 out of 7 people, almost 1 out of 3 people. Gee, it just so happens that there are about 100 million non-white people in the United States of America. They're being explicit about it, folks. They want ethnic cleansing. They want America to be a white people's country. They say they want to expel the immigrants and the criminal, illegal aliens, undocumented workers, the worst of the worst. But we know how that turned out. It's not the guys with the criminal records and the rapists and stuff. Those guys don't show up to work. Those guys don't hang out in the Home Depot parking lots. They're underground. They're keeping hidden. No, instead, it's round up all of the maids and the drywall guys and the landscapers and the dishwashers and the berry pickers, and we're going to kick all them out. Send them to CCOT, send them to these terrible torture prisons. And then they say that the 15th Amendment's birthright citizenship doesn't matter, and we should be able to denaturalize and re-migrate people. That means you, Mexican Americans, Honduran Americans, Cuban Americans, Somali Americans, Haitian Americans, Hmong Americans, Korean Americans, all of you, everybody, all the non-white people, they want you out. They really think the United States of America was divinely inspired by God himself to give white people a place to claim for their own after they cleared out all the merciless Indian savages. A place that could be built up by the Africans they stole and the Chinese that they exploited. A place where everybody's white and delightsome and everyone speaks English and everyone goes to a nice Protestant church. That's their vision for America. They want ethnic cleansing. And don't think that this is just round a bunch of people up, hold them in a camp for a little bit, and then deport them somewhere. Because these people, as they continue to be rounded up and collected, there won't have any place to ship them. It will soon become apparent there's no place for them to go. So we'll have to keep building bigger and bigger camps that hold more and more people. Or we'll have to start thinning down the numbers of all the peoples in those camps. Now, you can do it the slow way. Just don't provide a whole lot of good, nutritious food and allow diseases to run rampant and don't treat injuries and, let nature take its course and have people dying off on those camps that way. Or you can expedite the process. Come up with some sort of, say, final solution to the problem. That's where we're headed. That's where MAGA wants to take us. MAGA is our Nazi movement. They are Nazis. They're 4 letters long even. Made it nice and easy. And it's time for Democrats to start to understand that and to start fighting like our country's very survival is at risk here. But what do I get from, even just yesterday, from Chuck Schumer? People's health care costs are going to be going up, skyrocketing because of this Obamacare. And okay, yes, the health care costs are a problem. But we have an entire political party that has trifecta control of the United States right now that is openly promoting a campaign of ethnic cleansing and setting the United States up as a Christian theocracy. White nationalist Christian theocracy. This is existential. And when I hear Democrats out there saying, well, we got to talk about health care and the word of the day is affordability. What difference does it make how affordable your health care is when you and your family are sitting in some Geo Group concentration camp. Democrats continue to act as if this is regular times. It's time to go on the campaign trail. Once again, it's the economy, stupid. Let's talk about the issues. Instead of let's get on war footing. Let's recognize we're in the middle of a cold civil war. And these bastards get no benefit of the doubt. They get no assumption of good faith. We must treat them like the traitors they are. Traitors to everything it is that makes America, America. They think America is a place of whiteness and Christianity and capitalism and heterosexuality. And that's what makes America. And I hope that everyone on our side understands that what makes America is Americans of all types and sizes and views and behaviors and religions. That's what I love about America. I tell you, when I first moved to Portland, Oregon, one of my best memories was getting on the public transportation, getting on the MAX train, and sitting around me, I could hear 3 or 4 different languages being spoken. It was wonderful. There was some Spanish over there. There's some Mandarin over there. There was some sort of African language over there. I'm not sure what it is. I was excited about that. I was excited to go to the Portland Saturday Market and see all of these different ethnic food carts, all these different cultural carts selling their different, handmade wares. That's what I love about America, is that I can go to any major city in the United States and find me a Chinatown. That's what I love about America, that I can be driving a rental car through Pennsylvania and come upon an Amish buggy right there in the road. I love that. So beware. This country is on a fast track to the worst abuses, the same kind of abuses that we saw, the same kind of genocide and ethnic cleansing, the same kind of Holocaust is on the way. People say that I'm alarmist about this. I'll gladly be proven wrong. I'll happily eat crow if through the end of this we've made it out without discovering major mass massacre death at these concentration camps. Hell, I'll be happy if we get out of the Trumpocene era without a nuclear exchange. We'll be lucky to get out of this era with Taiwan still being independent, because now that we've invaded Venezuela, we've given President Xi all the go-ahead. Hey, go ahead and take it over. Who's going to stop you? What's going to happen? And here we are taking over Venezuela. Yay! Now we control 17% of the world's old energy technology. Ooh. Meanwhile, China take over Taiwan. They'll control 60% of the world's semiconductors. The future. And already, I'm reading about China's adoption of solar technology, far outpacing the rest of the world. Their investment in electric vehicle technology, where they're getting batteries now. I saw a motorbike being promoted, a solid state battery motorbike. EV cars that can recharge their batteries in 5 minutes and get 600 miles range on them. In cars that have 1,500 horsepower. No, sir, not 150 horsepower, 1,500 horsepower. From an all-electric car that'll go for 600 miles. Doesn't require any oil changes, air filters, all the fluids that you have to put into a car regularly, changing spark plugs, all that crap. Rest of the world moving forward without us. We're going to be that backward, dirty, polluted, obese, infected, pandemic raging every 5 years or so, economy crashing every second Republican term. We're going to end up being the backwater of the 21st century. as China moves forward, as Africa moves forward, we're going to be over here clutching our oil and our guns and our Bibles. We need to have a better future than that. And on this January 6th, I hope everyone out there is recommitted to taking back our democracy, to winning this cold civil war. Vote like your country and your lives depend on it, because they do.
Liberals, intellectuals, peacemongers, idiots!
And real quick, this other story that is on the radar, this terrible story of Tim Walz not running for third term as governor. This was coming up on my radar just as I was closing the show yesterday. And apparently it all has to do with this Somali welfare fraud situation. Some Somali immigrants apparently have figured out how to defraud Medicare for child services or child care centers. I haven't followed it too deeply. I did see that there was a couple of right-wing provocateurs trying to bully their way into some child care facility. Why are your doors locked? Why are these kids locked in here? Yeah, because assholes like you show up. That's why. But this political scandal now has cost Tim Walz his chance to run for his third term, because now all the Republicans are seizing on this. Aha! Waste and fraud and illegal immigrants doing waste. And see, we told you the immigrants were bad. They're defrauding the United States for all this money, all this taxpayer money. But really, the problem that the Somalis had in this situation is that they're not white senators from Florida. Because apparently if you're a white senator from Florida named Rick Scott, you can defraud Medicare for billions of dollars and still be a senator. You can still be elected senator and not have to pay back the billions of dollars and just go on with your merry life. Or you should have been the white son of a president. Yeah, because if you're the white son of a president, you're allowed to defraud children's cancer charities. You're allowed to be such a terrible fraud that the state of New York will not allow you to run a business there or a charity there because you're such a fraud. You're such a scammer. But sure, tell me about how the Somalis ripped us off a whole bunch of dollars. Can't have those taxpayer dollars being wasted. Because if you really wanted to waste taxpayer dollars, you wouldn't be a Somali immigrant. You'd work at the Pentagon, which has failed its last 8 audits that can't account for billions and billions and billions of dollars. Just disappeared. Don't know where they went. Oopsie. Yeah, if you want to defraud the American taxpayers, you can't be a Somali immigrant doing this nickel and dime stuff with child care. Now, you need to be the Pentagon. It's a sad, sad day. Tim Walz is a good man. Like I said, I don't know all the details of the scandal. I'm not trying to just wave it away and say that it's not something we shouldn't pay attention to. I mean, yes, defrauding these social programs is bad and there should be more attention paid to it. But it's just amazing to me how much attention gets so quickly paid and how quickly the gears of justice and politics will grind when it's the least of us, when it's Somali immigrants that are in question here and not rich and powerfully connected white people. The Radical Russ Show is produced, directed, researched, written, recited, posted, and catered by me, Radical Russ Belville, and governed by Creative Commons Share-alike licensing. News, music, video clips, and social media posts are reproduced under fair use copyright laws for commentary and analysis. My main theme is We Love the Herb by Herbal Nation, and interstitial music is by Russ Boom Boom Belville.
What's the boom boom for?
Boom, boom, boom.
Which brings us to our post-credits scene.
Oh, just one more thing, sir. I was thinking...
Oh boy, folks, I am so excited. So, I drive people to things and things to people, and as I am doing so, I listen to a lot a lot of radio and podcasts. That's the main thing I'm doing. And I'm so excited because I've got the Sirius XM app. I love the satellite radio. And I've been really enjoying the whole yacht rock thing for a long time now. I was a long time lover of yacht rock before it was even called yacht rock. I was always into Steely Dan and Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins and that stuff, right? And so the Yacht Rock channel has been very popular on Sirius XM, so much so that they made a Yacht Rock Deep Cuts, which you can get the more obscure cuts from like Sanford Townsend Band and stuff. And then they went ahead and made a Yacht Soul channel, which is like, you know, George Benson and some Earth, Wind & Fire stuff. And like, all right, I'm digging on the Yacht Soul. That's cool. And then they came up with this thing, Club Yacht Rock, where they let DJs do remixes of some of those yacht rock songs, and those are pretty fun. So I had my whole, you know, yacht rock thing going, my whole yacht palette, if you will. Well, now they've unleashed a brand new station, Yacht Country. Oh my God, this is such my station. Oh my God, Yacht Country, right? So you get like all those 70s, 80s crossover pop, you know, Barbara Mandrell, Kenny Rogers, Ronnie Millsap, Crystal Gale, Exile, Oak Ridge Boys, and then they cross it over a little bit into things, you know, like Dobie Gray and other, you know, Climax Blues Band, some stuff, some Eagles, some Poco, Lobo, that stuff that's kind of on the country Southern California rock side. Oh, mwah, what a perfect channel for me. Yacht Country, check it out. You can only get on the Sirius XM app, but boy, that's my kind of country. Yacht Country, check it out. Oh, Alabama and the Gatlin Brothers. Oh my God, I love it. Yacht Country, Sirius XM. You can contact me by email at radicalruss@gmail.com. Call my message line at 877-RUSS-420. That's 877-877-420. And reach me on social media on Blue Sky as radicalruss.com and nowhere else. You can support this podcast financially by donating to Radical Russ on Venmo, Rad Russ on Cash App, or via PayPal on my website at radicalruss.com. Get this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, my website, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening. And until next time, take care of each other.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it.